Hello, my name is Sierra and welcome to my channel, Homemade Mathematics. Today we're going to be taking a look at the game Super Mario Party for the Nintendo Switch. We're going to be using mean, median, mode, and range to find out which character has the best dice. So whether you're a math teacher looking for an end-of-the-year activity on probability, a student looking for some extra practice, or just a Super Mario Party fan that wants to figure out which character has the best dice, keep watching. Before I get started, I did want to mention that there is a worksheet provided down in the description box below. It is completely free. We're going to be only looking at a couple of characters, so this worksheet has a table with the characters that we did in this video filled out, and then it has all the other characters blank for you to use or for your students to use. So if you don't know how Mario Party works, you do have an original dice, a 1 through 6 dice, so I want to take a look at that first. And then in addition to that, you have your character die. I wanted to use this basic example of a typical dice to find mean, median, mode, and range first, and then that way we can also compare the character dice to it. To start, we have our mean, which another word for your mean is the average. To find the average, you're going to want to add up all of your possible outcomes and then divide by however many outcomes there are possible. So what I mean by that is I'm going to add up 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6, plus 4 is 10, plus 5 is 15, plus 6 is 21. You get 21 divided by however many options I have possible, which this is a 6-sided dice. So there are 6 options, which would get me 3 and a half. Which you probably could have predicted that that was the average just by looking at it because it's just 1 through 6 in a row. But when we get to our character dice where they're not in order like that, you're going to want to make sure you know how to use that strategy. Next we have our median, which your median is really just the middle. What number is in the middle? So if you have an odd amount of outcomes, there's going to be one single number in the middle. That is your median. However, if you have an even amount like I do here, you notice if I try to find the middle, I actually have 2 numbers in the middle, 3 and 4. So if that's the case, then just like you did with the mean, you're going to find the average of those 2 middle numbers. So what's in between 3 and 4, or you could add them up. 3 plus 4 is 7 divided by 2. Our median is actually the same as our mean for this one. That will not always be the case. Next, we have your mode, which is the one that you see the most. If you're familiar with the game, you might know Shy Guy has a dice, and it's all 4s and 1 0. In that case, his mode would be 4. It's the one you see the most. 5 out of 6 of the possibilities are 4. This dice, however, all of those have the same equal chance. There's a 1 out of 6 chance for each of those. So we do not have a mode. And then lastly, we have our range, which I like to think of our reward minus our risk. It's also important to look at our risk versus reward when we're looking at these dice and choosing which one we think is best. What I mean by that is if I roll this dice, what is the best possible outcome? What is my reward? It's getting a 6. Minus, what is my risk? What is the worst possible thing I could get if I rolled this dice? A 1. So 6 minus 1, we have a range of 5. Now that we know how to find mean, median, mode, and range, let's take a look at how we can do this with a character dice. So the first character dice I chose for 2 different reasons. 1, Yoshi's my favorite character. He always has been. Since I started playing Nintendo games, that's the only character I will ever choose. And 2, his dice is pretty similar to a typical dice, but slightly different. So I thought it'd be a good one to start with. As you can see, instead of having a 2, he has a 0. And instead of a 4, he has an extra 3. And instead of a 6, he has a 7. So it's slightly different, but still should end up, I would predict, pretty close to a typical dice. Right, remember your mean is your average. Add them all up, divide by 6. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 3 is 7, plus 5 is 12, plus 7 is 19, divided by 6. 3.16 repeating, which If you compare that to the typical dice, it is slightly below the average of that. Next is the median, so the number in the middle. Again, since they're an even amount, there's two numbers in the middle, but they happen to be the same thing. So our median would be 3. Our mode is the one we see the most. On this dice, we do have a mode because we see 3 twice. That is the one we see the most. We have a 2 out of 6 chance of getting 3, where we only have a 1 out of 6 chance for all the other options. And then our range, our reward minus our risk. The best possible outcome I could have is a 7. The worst possible outcome I could have is 0. So if we subtract those, we get a range of 7. I am going to now put Mario's dice on the screen. He, again, is pretty average. I would expect it to be pretty close to the typical dice. So I want you to pause here, try it on your own, and when you come back, I will have the answers up on the board. I started by adding up all my outcomes to get 21 divided by 6 to get an average of 3.5, which you might notice is the same as our typical dice. I then found my median, which the two numbers in the middle were both 3, so the average of 3 and 3 is just 3. My mode, the one I see the most, is 3. You'll notice 3 out of 6 of my options is 3, so I have a half chance of rolling a 3. And then lastly, my range, my reward of 6 minus my risk of 1 would get me a range of 5. Now you should be able to fill out the majority of the chart in that worksheet if you are following along with that. However, you might notice some characters don't have steps as an option. Some of them also have coins on their dice. So I wanted to show you how I found the mean, median, mode, and range of those type of characters. So the character I want to use as an example for this is Rosalina. If you take a look at her dice, you'll see she has 2, 3, 4, and 8, as well as 2 plus 2 coins. Now, if she gets the plus 2 coins, she's not going to move, so I pretty much counted those as 0 because she's not going to move any spaces, and we're really trying to find the mean, median, mode, and range of the amount of spots they're going to move. For mean, I just used those as 0, so 0 plus 0 plus 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 4 is 9, plus 8 is 17, divided by our 6, which I got 2.83 repeating, so much lower than our mean. But you want to keep in consideration that those zeros, you're still getting something out of it, and there might be a situation where you want 0. So for instance, let's say you're on a square where it's plus 3, and you're like, well, I wouldn't mind getting plus 3 again. You roll the dice, you get plus 2, you stay there, you get another plus 3. All right, so I am going to be making a part 2 to this video on situations. So let's say you're in this situation, which would be the best dice to use. So if you're interested in that, please go ahead and subscribe because that will be coming soon. Back to Rosalina, if we're looking at our median, if we're looking at our two numbers in the middle, our 2 and 3, add those up, 5 divided by 2, our average of our middle is 2.5. Our mode is the one we see the most, which all of these, we have a 1 out of 6 chance, but we have a 2 out of 6 chance of getting plus 2 coins or 0 steps. Again, that's why this can be kind of controversial because that could be really great in some situations. You might look at the average of this and be like, whoa, that's way lower than the others. But there are situations where you will want to use Rosalina's dice. And then lastly, our risk versus reward. So if we're looking at a reward, the best possible option is 8. The worst possible option is that you get 2 coins and don't have to move, which doesn't really seem like a bad option to me, but that is our worst option. And it is 8. Okay, just like we did before with Mario's dice, I'm going to have you go ahead and pause the video here, and I'm going to have you try to do the same thing for Bowser's dice. So go ahead and pause, and then when you resume, the answer will be on the screen. As you can see, I added up 1 plus 8 is 9, plus 9 is 18, plus 10 is 28, divided by our 6 options to get 4.6 repeating.
Then to find the median, the two numbers in the middle are 1 and 8, so I found the average by adding and dividing by 2, which got us 4.5. Our mode, the thing we see the most, or our most common outcome, is to get -3 coins, or 0 steps. And then lastly, our range, the best thing we could get is 10, the worst thing we could get is 0 steps, or -3 coins, so 10 minus 0 would get us 10. So you might have noticed that Bowser has the best mean and median out of the characters we've compared so far. However, he also has the worst mode, right? The most popular option is to get -3 coins. This brought up a few reflection questions that you will see in the worksheet. So like I said, I do have that free worksheet in the description box below. I thought I'd give you a little preview of it. So the first page is just kind of giving you directions and also showing you those character dice blocks. So it gives you all the characters as well as what each of their dice looks like. From here, you're going to fill out the chart. You can see I've already filled out the mean, median, mode, and range for those characters that we have done. So your job is to fill out the rest of those characters. And then lastly, this brought a lot of questions to my mind. I started to compare all my dice, looking at which had the best and worst mean, which had the best and worst median, and so on. And that kind of led me to some questions that we can reflect on. Out of those 4 things we found, what do you think gives you the best idea of who has the best dice? Or does it depend? What does it depend on? This is a great way to reflect on what mean, median, mode, and range really tell us, and how those things can help us make a decision to do better in a video game. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below which character you think has the best and worst dice and why. And please subscribe so you don't miss part 2 of Super Mario Party Probability.